Get ready, because it's time for some more Beamer ball. I love what Shane Beamer is doing in Columbia. He has exceeded expectations at South Carolina each of the last 2 years with back-to-back winning seasons. And God, I cannot wait to see what he has in store for year 3. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today, ready to break down, analyze, and predict South Carolina's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 5 years. It's guaranteed money right back in your pocket. We can guarantee we will have a winning season. Last year, hitting over 60% of our bets, and we want you to join our team today. Also, check out our Patreon account. Exclusive college football content there year-round. Become a member of our Patreon Wall of Fame to gain access to that exclusive content. And also check out our mailing address. Send us some gear. Send us some Beamer ball gear, some South Carolina gear to the mailing address below as we try to expand our GE Nation from coast to coast, representing your team in every single video. So like I said, I love South Carolina, right, guys? I mean, this is a fun team to watch, and last year was no exception. 8-5 season for South Carolina, a top 25 finish, an unbelievable year, all things considered. It was kind of a rough start at first, and then into the year with back-to-back wins against number 5 Tennessee and number 7 Clemson, ruining both the Volunteers and the Tigers' college football playoff hopes. It was unbelievable. And then they nearly beat Notre Dame in their bowl game, falling 45-38, and was one of the better bowl games of the entire postseason. Now, Shane Beamer leads his Gamecocks into his 3rd year in Columbia, and they have a chance to possibly improve on last year's win total. Offense, it's going to be great. 6 starters back after averaging over 32 points per game last year. No starter back, though, that's bigger than their quarterback in Spencer Rattler, who threw for over 3,000 yards and 18 touchdowns last year, and has an opportunity to continue to improve on that total as they add a new offensive coordinator, and Dow Loggins coming in with tons of NFL experience, coming in from the tight ends coach at Arkansas. I think he's going to make a pretty immediate impact in Columbia. I know some were not happy with the hire, but I think it's going to pan out extremely well for Shane Beamer and his squad. They returned their top wide receiver from last year, and Antoine Wells, 928 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. So Spencer Rattler and Wells, the number 1 connection there. Offense is going to be thriving after averaging well over 370 yards per game last year. Defensively, the Gamecocks need a little work on that side of the ball, right? They gave up 28.8 points per game, not the best mark in the world. The biggest concern for me was not the passing defense. The secondary was pretty solid, but they gave up 198 rushing yards per game. That's the biggest concern. Can South Carolina step up front, that front 7 defensively, and slow down teams that have a pretty potent rushing attack? They have their leading tackler back, and Nick Emenwori returns at safety. They have Marcellus Dial back as well, led the team with 3 interceptions last year. He's at cornerback. The secondary, I do believe, is going to be solid, but the front 7, again, has to improve. They can stop the run. The South Carolina defense could take a major step forward, maybe go from allowing almost 29 points per game to roughly 24. 5-6 point differential there would make a huge difference in the win column in 2023. Take a look at the win column, right? Let's take a look at South Carolina's schedule. It's a tough one. It's not easy. Obviously, life in the SEC extremely difficult, and they open the year up against a tough North Carolina team in Charlotte. I mean, first off, I think it's going to be one of the better Week 1 games in all of college football. I don't think people are talking about it nearly enough, but this neutral site game in Charlotte is going to be a lot of fun. Rivalry game and a battle between 2 of the better quarterbacks in the country, and Spencer Rattler at South Carolina, obviously, and Drake May at North Carolina, who threw for over 4,300 yards and 38 touchdowns last year. South Carolina, it should be noted, has won 7 of the last 9 games against the Tar Heels, including that 2021 Mayo Bowl victory, and beat them by, 17 points, 38-21. The thing is here, if you look at the 2 teams on paper, I would give the edge offensively to North Carolina. I think that offense from last year was phenomenal. Drake May, I actually think, is a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler, but the Achilles heel for North Carolina is their defense. Significantly worse than South Carolina's. They gave up 30.8 points per game, 271 passing yards per game, 165 rushing yards per game. I don't have faith in North Carolina's defense in this game. South Carolina, in a battle between 2 quarterbacks that are so good, which secondary is going to step up and make the biggest play? it's going to be South Carolina. The Gamecocks own that edge in the secondary. North Carolina loses a lot from that secondary from last year. It wasn't all that good to begin with. I think we see a close game in Charlotte. Again, in one of the better opening week games. But the Gamecocks get the victory over UNC. They're 1-0. They beat Furman to become 2-0. And then they go on the road to Georgia, where I think they drop their first game to become 2-1. I don't think there's a team in the regular season, at least, that could probably take down Georgia this year. South Carolina fell to them 48-7 in Columbia last year. You're not going to win in Athens. I think we can bypass that pretty quickly. They're 2-1 and return home to take on Mississippi State, the first meeting between the Bulldogs and the Gamecocks since 2016. I think that's a sin. I think it's a shame how long we go between cross-division games. You know, some of these guys don't play each other for nearly a decade, and they're in the same conference. I think it's ridiculous. So first game since 2016 between South Carolina and Mississippi State. And I think South Carolina wins this game. I think the Gamecocks take down Mississippi State, a team that is not necessarily reeling from the tragic passing of Mike Leach, but obviously is going through some new changes. They are not going to be solely air raid like they've been the last few years under Mike Leach. They still have one of the better quarterbacks in the conference in Will Rogers. It's certainly going to test this South Carolina secondary, but Zach Arnett, the new head coach, going to try to go for a more balanced approach. They're certainly going to be running the ball more than they have in recent years, and the defense for Mississippi State certainly going to be solid as well. 4 starters back, but Arnett being promoted from defensive coordinator to head coach, and the Bulldogs, especially against the run, have been very stingy the last few years. I think this is a game, though, where you kind of see Dow Loggins, the new offensive coordinator, break open that passing game more than we've seen in the previous 3 games. Spencer Rattler has a big day against this Mississippi State defense. Gamecocks get the first conference win of the year, and they're 3-1 heading into the road game at Tennessee. I think it's easy to say that South Carolina probably will lose this game to the Volunteers. Why? Because it's a massive, massive, massive revenge game for Tennessee. We mentioned it at the beginning of the video. South Carolina pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the year last year, taking down the Volunteers 63-38. 63-38 over the 5th-ranked Volunteers, ultimately ending Tennessee's college football playoff hopes. It was amazing what happened late November last year. Had over like 700 yards of offense in that game against Tennessee, and some will say, yeah, Hendon Hooker got hurt. Look, South Carolina was going to win that game whether Hooker got hurt or not. I mean, they were playing fantastic ball when he was healthy and playing, and they were playing fantastic ball when he got hurt. So I'm not going to buy that. South Carolina deserved to win that game. They did. They got it in dominating fashion. But now it's in Knoxville, Neyland Stadium, one of the more difficult places to play in the country. Joe Milton is going to be great at quarterback, great segue from Hendon Hooker to him. Tennessee returns their top 2 rushers from last year, and they have returned underrated defense. Secondary, not great for the Volunteers, but I think that home crowd is going to be wild, and Josh Heupel's not allowing his squad to lose after what South Carolina did to them last year. I think South Carolina gets beat pretty handily in Knoxville, and they enter their bye week at 3-2. Only losses to arguably the top 2 teams in their division. Coming out of the bye week, they take on Florida, their rival there. And you know, it's weird. 2 years ago when Florida came to Columbia, the Gamecocks won big. They annihilated the Gators. Wasn't even close. Last year, South Carolina goes to Gainesville, gets annihilated by the Gators, losing 38-6, being outgained 515 yards to 237 yards, allowing over 370 yards on the ground. I will say this, the bye week helps. Giving your team a week of rest to prepare for Florida is huge. Getting Florida at home is huge. And this is a Florida team, guys, that I don't think is going to be in for that great of a year. They have an offense that has a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, and really what this comes down to is South Carolina's ability to stuff the run. We talked about the secondary. It's going to be pretty solid. I'm not worried about Graham Mertz or Jack Miller coming into Williams-Brice Stadium and lighting up the South Carolina team. I'm just not. I am worried about a guy like Trevor Etienne coming in here and running all over South Carolina just like they did last year. I think that week of rest, Shane Beamer and that defense, they hone in on the run. You stop the run, you win the game. That's exactly what South Carolina is going to do. I don't have faith in Florida's offense being able to do much else. The defense still has some concerns, especially in the secondary after giving up over 235 passing yards per game. Spencer Rattler has himself another big day. In South Carolina, they're kind of alternating here. They get the win at home for their 4th win of the season. Then tough back-to-back road games, right? I mean, there's an opportunity to clinch bowl eligibility before November, but I don't see it happen. I think South Carolina proceeds to lose their next 2 games. They lose on the road to Missouri, and to me, this is a logical pick, right? Some would say no, but last year, South Carolina had a lot of momentum. They had come off a big win over A&M. They cracked the rankings. They were the 25th ranked team in the country. They were looking good. They were, 5-2, looking really good. Missouri comes in, kind of a lowly Missouri team, and the Tigers just obliterated South Carolina. Held that Gamecocks offense to just 10 points on the day, won 23-10, held South Carolina to 203 yards on the day. And now you look at it this year, the game's in Columbia, Missouri. Missouri's defense is even better. 10 of their top 13 tacklers returns. Going to be one of the better defenses, not just in the SEC, but maybe even in the entire country. The offense should take a major step forward with a new offensive coordinator in Kirby Moore, and obviously a dual threat quarterback in Brady Cook, or whoever gets the nod, whether it's him, Sam Horn, or Jake Garcia. It's going to be better quarterback play across the board. I just don't think South Carolina has enough to win on the road. Some would say revenge game for the Gamecocks. I would lean that way more so if the game was in Columbia, South Carolina. Going on the road against this stingy of a defense, I think Missouri flexes their muscle a little bit, gets another win over the Gamecocks, and then South Carolina certainly, to me, will not be winning in College Station. I know they beat A&M by 6 last year, 30-24, got off to an amazing start before kind of letting up a little bit and letting A&M keep it a little bit closer than maybe they wanted. But now the game's in College Station, where South Carolina has not played well at all. 0-4 in College Station since A&M joined the SEC. You know, you look at the Aggies this year, guys. Someone goes, they went 5-7. They're going to be bad again. No, they're not. 20 starters are back. Much improved offense with Connor Weidman, top 4 pass catchers. Bobby Petrino calling the plays. The defense wasn't bad at all last year. South Carolina simply isn't going to have enough to win this game on the road. So they dropped those 2 games on the road. Back-to-back road games, never easy at any point in the year. But look at what happens in November. They don't leave. Back-to-back road games, and in the month of November, they play every game at home. To me, that's worth it. I will sacrifice 2 games on the road, and maybe they beat Missouri. I don't think they do. Maybe they do. And you get 4 straight home games to close out the year. That's perfect. Can't ask for anything better than that. And it really is a pretty favorable schedule in the month of November. Really, really favorable. I think they win their next 2 games over Jacksonville State, now a member of the FBS. They beat Jacksonville State to get a win there. They beat Vanderbilt to get a win there. They beat Vanderbilt 38-27. The Commodores certainly improving this year, but maybe not enough to go bowling. But they're going to be a lot better than they have been in years past. Clark Lee doing phenomenal things in Nashville. But they win their next 2 games, which means they are going bowling. They clinched bowl eligibility. Not that there was really any doubt. 6 wins. Can they get a 7th against Kentucky? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I like South Carolina a lot against Kentucky. They beat the Wildcats 24-14. At the time, Kentucky was the 13th ranked team in the country. Yes, I know the Wildcats maybe were a little bit beat up last year. The offensive line was god-awful. 47 sacks allowed by Kentucky. 6 of those came against South Carolina, so the South Carolina defense played phenomenal ball. And I know the Wildcats are going to be better, right? The offense should be good. 10 starters back. Devin Leary transferring in from NC State. But I still, actually, if I had to choose, I'd give Spencer Rattler the quarterback edge over Devin Leary. South Carolina has the home field advantage in this game. Kentucky's defense pretty solid per usual. I think this game is actually relatively low scoring like it was last year, only 24-14. I'd actually be surprised if maybe either of these teams eclipsed 30 points in the game. We've seen some pretty low scoring games recently between Kentucky and South Carolina. But with home field advantage on their side late in November, that's when South Carolina did their damage last year, and they do it again this year. They beat Kentucky. They get their 7th win of the season, which is unbelievable. That would mark it the last 3 years under Shane Beamer. They've won at least 7 games. They got their 7th win in the bowl in 2021. They won 8 regular season games last year. Can they win 8 regular season games again this year with a win over Clemson? That's a great question. They beat Clemson last year in Death Valley. In Death Valley, they got the win 31-30 over the Tigers, ending a 7-game losing streak to their in-state rival, ending the possible slim hope that Clemson had of making the college football playoff. But I don't think South Carolina can make it 2 in a row over the Tigers. This Clemson team, guys, is really good. I think we're writing off Dallas Swinney and the Tigers for some reason. I don't know why. They're still an elite contender. They're still the reigning ACC champions. They've got a phenomenal quarterback in Cade Klubnik, one of the better offensive coordinators in the country in Garrett Riley. The defense returned 8 starters, arguably the best defensive line in the country this year. And you've got Dabo Swinney, one of the better coaches in the country, that's angry, out for revenge, and a very good chance that Clemson could be in the college football playoff discussion in the last week of the season. I just don't see the Tigers losing 2 in a row to their in-state rival. I think this team's going to be a lot better than they were last year, and Clemson was never bad to begin with. South Carolina certainly deserved to win that game last year. It was an unbelievable upset, but Clemson isn't going to allow themselves to lose 2 times in a row. That Clemson defense faces and flexes their muscles. Arguably, you look at the schedule, the toughest defense outside of Georgia that South Carolina will face all season long. And I think the Gamecocks struggle to move the ball a little bit in this one. Clemson gets the revenge despite the game being at Williams-Brice Stadium. And with that, South Carolina finishes the year at 7-5. Some may say it's a disappointment after winning 8 games last year. I say it's not. It's a really, really tough schedule. You've got the road game at Georgia, the road game at Tennessee, the road game at A&M. Clemson's never easy. It's a brutal, brutal schedule. Winning 7 games with a shot at 8, going to another decent bowl game is an unbelievable accomplishment by Shane Beamer. This guy, again, to me, continues to exceed expectations. 3 straight winning seasons, 3 straight good bowl games. This is going to be a fun team to watch, guys. And Beamer ball, it's not slowing down. It's keeping up. It's keeping up the pace. They're going to keep winning, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it every step of the way. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com, our Patreon account for exclusive college football content year-round. Send us some gear to the mailing address. Would love to represent some Beamer ball here at the Gridiron Expert in every single Gridiron Expert video. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.